Let's go!
You are now listening to Stability Podcast.
Kept on walking, went to random places, asked to have boba, and then found a koala. I'm like, the crepe place might have boba. So walked in, I'm like, can I get a boba? And I get this exact same thing every time. Like, I'm not like a boba connoisseur, but like, I get the exact same. I get that
You get
fucking
the mango smoothie
like
with
mango
the boba.
smoothie with tapioca, 50% sugar. It's the same shit every single time. And if I want to spice up my life a little bit, I'll get some of that brown sugar shit, you know? With same thing with tapioca. Like when I feel like, need a little something a little different. But it's good. I like this one. It's a little sweet on the sweeter end, but like it's giving me a lot of energy, which is pretty dope. So yeah. Shout out to the crepe place on Osborne.
They need to
Sponsor me.
They need to
Sponsor
sponsor
me.
this podcast. Sponsor the Brown Special. The Brown Special. DEE Brown Special. I gotta pronounce that out. I'm low key literally just waiting for this guy to add me back on his live, but I don't think it's gonna
I
happen.
really think you should like move on to some new content.
I
here.
think we're gonna just close it and actually just do the podcast.
What is this podcast?
Okay, so the thing is that I don't know what my like niche is gonna be on this podcast. Like
Yeah.
I thought I'd bring on my brother. You were in town, so we kind of would just do the first podcast. It's in yeah, literally we're in like my room, man. Like this is my room. This is my
This is some like Bobby Altoff, Drake type.
this
of
is the one. Yeah, if you don't play
a
any
really
music
good
in here
podcast.
and try to copyright me, like this is gonna be great. Like
No, I don't roll deep like fucking
Drake,
does. I don't
yo.
want those type of connections. The what was it?
Lil Yachty.
Lil Yachty. I don't got that
They're
Lil Yachty
besties with
song.
Lil Yachty. No, it wasn't Lil Yachty. He played
Oh, was it Tyga?
Tyga. He
Oh,
played
Tyga.
Tyga, bro. And then, cause I think he did a cover with, like it's his album. Tyga's on his, not his album, his record. I think him and Tyga are on the same record. So what it
Okay,
did
word.
was basically,
Yeah, no, I got it. I know the story. I think most of you probably know the story.
most of you, honestly, too many people watch
Oh, I guess
social media.
listeners, yeah.
Our 20 listeners.
Sorry about this ASMR of me chewing on fucking
Let's hear it.
tapioca.
Let's hear it. Yeah, that's
that's what ASMR.
That's some
right
OF.
there.
That's OF material right there.
Oh man, I'm telling this guy to like start an OF page just for his podcast, and then he can just like catfish people to like listening to.
Yo,
podcasts.
basically my feet pictures I can sell,
okay,
bro.
Let's like never
Oh
get there.
god.
Also, can we talk about how outlandishly ridiculous that looks?
This looks great.
That's
I don't know
like
if you
so
can see it.
stupid.
Actually, I'll have to zoom into. This looks amazing.
That
I
looks
think
so ridiculous.
you know what it is. You just gotta do this.
The worst fashion statement I've ever
You just
seen.
gotta do that. Just like that. Have you seen
That
those?
looks.
Have you never seen the volleyball players walking around, or like the
ugly.
hockey guys with like the hats, like whatever?
At least they play volleyball and hockey and they can get away with it. What do you do?
Bro, I play squash. I'm a
Nah,
semi-pro
you
squash
can't
player.
do that shit.
I'm a semi-professional
You can't
squash
do that.
player. I'm a
You can't do
semi-professional
that.
squash player.
That
What are
ain't
you?
right.
Can you call yourself a professional in any sport?
Nah, I can't.
Exactly.
I can curl though.
Curl what?
Curl
I curl
rocks.
100 pounds. Okay, so honestly, we need some substance in this podcast. What are we gonna talk
for real.
about? Okay. So you go to a different university than I do.
Yeah, for real.
What are you studying?
I'm studying comp sci. I'm in my last year of computer science. I'm minoring in math and business. Yeah, I mean, I go to the finest regional university in Manitoba. I mean, it's not a bad university for what it is. It's just a bit smaller than the University of Manitoba. It offers some like pretty cool stuff, pretty cool features. Like my computer science classes, like in my fourth year now, have like 5 to 6 kids in them. Most of them unenthusiastic about the actual degree itself.
Yeah.
Which again is fair. Computer science is a very saturated field, and I feel like it's a lot harder for people to find jobs nowadays in computer science field, and you have to find a lot of creative ways of getting jobs. Like the way I found my job was through like external networking, and I got a job as like a crop input intern, and the job really involved me into like going into fields day to day and doing agriculture related work, even though I had like zero agriculture background. I was lucky enough to get a job in it because it was more like a sales job, and I just presented them with like technology based ideas and solutions that we can provide to like make the job a lot easier for them. And they're like, oh, we love these, and they just offered me a job related to the field. Like I built data analytic reports for them. I built like apps and software solutions, like just on the side of like projects and stuff. Gave time, and I think that a lot of people like overlook that. Like they're always like so focused on looking for software engineering positions that they forget there's alternatives as well to finding jobs. So I think that's something that like I benefit out of because I can like decently well and talk to like my manager, and I'm very passionate about like creating stuff. Like I know you're passionate about like making like podcasts and recording stuff and just creating stuff in general.
Mhm.
Like you would consider yourself like a content creator. You like making stuff and just watching those analytics and stuff like that. I'm like the same way except for in terms of like technology and like when it comes to apps and stuff. I find like I get adrenaline rush out of like just making like I know it sounds a little bit weird, but like building apps and seeing other people use them and just watching the App Store analytics go up. I have an app on the App Store right now. It's called Doted. Go download it, run up the analytics, baby.
What is it called?
It's called Doted, Doted. If you can't,
Doted. I'll put
yeah,
it in the link below.
yeah. If you guys can't find it, it's just search up my name, Hashim Farooq. Oh, by the way, I never introduced myself. Name's Hashim, by the way. Um, anyways, I'm Hassan's brother. We do have a different last name. You want to explain the story why we have different last
No,
names?
I don't. I think that's a mystery we'll let people. I'm
Yeah,
basically
we are
adopted.
related by blood though.
No, I'm adopted.
We'll
I like to think I'm adopted. Or
bro,
you
we
like
look the
to,
exact same time.
you thought it was nice that I was not your brother. Like when we used to go to school, when we used to go to school, it was funny because he would tell everyone that I was his cousin.
No, we would do that as a joke.
No,
though.
we would. It would
Yeah, it was
like
funny.
we skipped a lot of like we went to a lot of different schools growing up. So every time we'd go to a different school, we would tell everyone, oh, they'd be like, oh, you kind of look like that one kid in like grade 6 when I was in grade 7, and they'd be like, oh yeah, that's my cousin. And they'd be like, oh, he's your cousin? Oh, okay. And then we have a younger sister with the same name as
Yeah.
Hashim here. But the thing is that they'd be like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm related to them by blood. So when like like as days would go on, months would pass, and then they'd see us coming together with everything. They'd be like, "Oh, you guys are really close cousins." Yes, yes, we are.
The thing also was like, especially when we went to like move to the city, because we grew up in like a small town there. But like when we moved to the city, you and our sister, you guys were more like out there versus me. I was a little bit more low key, and so like people would meet you guys first, because you guys also did take like a lot of like random classes as well.
Yeah.
Like you were in like what grade 11 bio when you were in grade 12 or
I was
something.
taking grade 11 bio.
Exactly. So you met like a lot of kids that were like my age and stuff
Yeah.
versus me, because I was in like more what was I? What class was it? I forget what class, but they were all like grade 11 classes, but they were like electives rather than like grade 11 because I hated bio, so I never took grade 11 bio. Or
A lot of people that you became friends with were in the class that I was in before.
exactly,
Then you took.
exactly.
But that was because we moved. That was like
I
it
don't
was
know,
a
but like I
weird.
took more like electives, right? And you
Yeah.
took like all like the fucking eight, not the you took more like the pre-AP classes
Yeah.
there. I took a couple of pre-AP classes, but I guess grade 11 bio was just like such a class that like almost everyone took, right? And
So
I was just never
I
that
have
type.
to know, like, why didn't you take bio?
Oh, I don't know, man. I always knew I was gonna go into like a STEM related field, but I knew I wasn't gonna go into bio. I knew I wasn't like made to be a doctor, no matter like how much our parents told me us to become doctors.
Yeah.
I just knew it wasn't for me.
But okay, you know what what I found weird was like we everyone we knew took biology.
Oh, 100%.
You're the only one that chose not to take 11 bio. You took 12 bio, right?
I took grade 12 bio in
But you
grade
chose
10.
not to take in grade 10
So
with
here's the
corn dogs.
yeah, here's the
Oh
thing though.
my
Like
god.
I took grade 12 bio and I just had a terrible experience on it. Like
Because he
I
was
was
just
in
a
grade
bad
10.
professor.
That he was a bad teacher,
Yeah.
fair, but like I was in grade 10. Like I was like pretty much a kid,
Yeah.
and I was in grade 12, and no one in that class like even thought of me as like their classmate. So I was like so lonely in that class too, and I would just study in the back. I loved, I loved a lot. I loved bio. Like I loved grade 12 bio. It was amazing. I learned a lot about DNA, RNA. I remember most of the shit like uh like the codons and all that. I remember a lot of like protein synthesis and all that stuff. I retained a lot of information and energy. I'm generally like curious about a lot of things, but just in terms of when it came to like biology, it just I don't know, just I guess that past experience and just like I already put myself in a mindset that I wasn't gonna really take bio anymore. And then I did actually take it. I was in grade 11 bio.
But you
I dropped
dropped
it.
it.
So I wanted the dissections. So I did the dissections, and as soon as the dissections were done, I'm like, fuck it, I'm dropping it. And it was like right at the deadline of the drop deadline, okay, I'm like, I'm dropping it. Even though after I got my first test back at 100%.
See, that's crazy to me that you ended up dropping biology. Like I thought that you would actually like go through it. Um, But okay, let's go back to that like grade 10 and like 12 experience. Like, so to put it in context, we went to a small school. Like for most of our lives, up until for me it was like senior year, but for him until like your sophomore, like junior year, like we went to a small school of I think it was 120 kids from grade 8 to grade 12. No, 7 to 12. There was 120 kids in our school, and people don't understand that. So when he was taking grade 12 biology, he was with all the grade 12s
Yeah.
taking it, and he was a grade 10 student.
All the grade 12s were also like graduating, right? So
And
they
they
were all
were
planning
all,
graduation. Then no one cared about it. And I had like the second highest mark in the class.
and the thing was like the one person that did care about it, she was also not like the friendliest
It was
person.
like Brit.
I don't want to name drop anyone,
Oh, right.
but like
Yeah.
Brit was great. I love Brit. Brit
Yeah,
was
yeah,
super
yeah.
nice, but there was another person I'm thinking of who thought they were smart, but they weren't actually
I
smart.
know who you're talking about, but I don't think they had a higher mark than me in that class.
No, but
I know
everyone
Brit did.
everyone has that one person in their class who thinks they're smart but aren't actually smart, but they like ruin the experience for everyone.
But I also did have like a student teacher. I don't know if you remember her, but she wasn't the best at teaching.
Who
And
was the student teacher?
I forget her name, but like
Oh, was
I
she
don't
the
wanna
one that was
describe- I
was
don't
she
wanna
the
describe it
no,
kinda
but was
like-
she the one that was like having troubles with her fiance? Was she the one like oh no, like that was chemistry. She taught chemistry.
Yeah, she was also she was my math student teacher.
Oh, was she? Oh, she
Yeah,
was
I don't want to name
horrible.
names, but like she was like you could like she didn't pass like student teaching. She
Really?
didn't pass the no because of that
Was it
class.
the one with like
She
the
had
one that
poofy
used to
hair.
play with poofy hair?
Yeah, I think she was the badminton one.
Dude, I used to
Yeah,
play
yeah.
with me
Yeah,
with
yeah.
badminton.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was practice, but
so
she would used to
weird.
come and like practice me alone.
Why was she at school?
I
at
respected
night?
her.
That's so weird.
No, I respected her for the
She
fact.
also lived in the city too, so
Yeah,
she
but I
drive in all
respected
the
her
time.
that she used to come and practice badminton with me at after school. It was kind of nice. Nicest student teacher I've ever met. I don't know whatever happened to her. You know what's the coolest thing?
Oh, I know she didn't become a teacher.
Did she not?
No,
How do you know?
she failed.
How do you know?
This cornball.
You know who did fail? That one guy. Remember that one guy we saw at Massey again? He was teaching. There was this student teacher that taught us about.
Oh, I need some water.
I think it was grade 11 physics. No, I took physics at Massey. It was chemistry. He taught chemistry, grade 11 chemistry. And can you pass me that water bottle at the edge there? Okay, so anyway, this teacher, right? I don't want to name who he was, but he came to Massey after too.
Yeah, I think I saw him. Like,
Yeah, he was teaching the grade 9 math, but I know he failed. But he
Why?
still ended up becoming a teacher. He was
Oh.
living beside us. Remember we saw him drive by our neighborhood?
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
But he became a teacher. You don't necessarily, if you fail your practicum,
I know she did. Now I remember her name. But I know she didn't become a teacher because Corn Dog, because he said he gave Corn Dog like the fucking
it's our
science
nickname
teacher.
for our really terrible science teacher.
He wasn't terrible. He was pretty good.
He just did. No,
I don't know.
I
Why are you
say-
talking to him? Why are you tossing that out there?
I'm not saying terrible.
If he's watching this, he knows.
He's not watching this. I know he hated me so much. He's not watching this. No, what I'm trying to say is the fact he was a really nice dude, but he just didn't care about his job. Okay, before we transition into going back to like high school, what I want to talk about is the fact that like I think teachers need a higher like there needs to be a stricter way to create to bring in teachers. Like there's the practicum that's
here's
and you
also
know
the
no,
thing.
wait, I'm not done. Teachers do their practicums to become teachers, right? Like they do the student teaching. My thing is that a lot of teachers that become like especially teachers are people that didn't get their dreams academics. Like they didn't become doctors because they failed to get into med school, so they become biology teachers. They didn't become professional athletes, so they become phys ed teachers. I hate the fact that it's a secondary thing for them, and when it becomes a secondary thing, a lot of times what they do is they give up on teaching later on in their years because they're so used to it.
I think that's true to an
The
extent.
passion is gone.
I also think that's true to an extent, mostly because we also did go to a really small town, and the teachers that end up there are like teachers who are generally not passionate. I can't say this generalize this about all teachers, about like where they are in their lives. Like we had some really terrible teachers.
No, but we had some really good teachers too.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Like,
remember Lahoy? I'm name dropping Lahoy just because I really liked him.
okay, yeah, he was good.
The reason
yeah.
bro, Taryn, if you're watching this, like reach out, man. I'd love to have you on a podcast. Like
No.
low key, a lot of people have different opinions, but my opinion about him, he was one of those teachers that actually cared. While we
yeah.
were there, when we were there.
Oh yeah, 100%. I agree. He was nothing but nice, and he taught us a lot. Like learned a lot from him. He coached us everything. So, but yeah, he was a great teacher. But
He
like
was like a
again, he
coach.
was a gym teacher,
But he
right?
was a coach.
He was
No,
also a coach,
he taught
right?
me pre-calculus. He was my
Oh
math.
yeah,
He was my
word.
math prof. Bro,
Yeah, I
he's the
didn't.
one guy why I think I'm in engineering. For why my math is so good. Like I aced his pre-calculus classes, grade 11 and 12.
His pre-cal.
Well, I got a 92 on the provincial
Oh
exam.
damn.
Yeah, I did well on the provincial exam. I had the highest mark in the provincial exam in our district.
Oh,
At the time, because at the time Mila didn't write it. So,
uh,
I'm name drop someone else, but she didn't, she's not watching this. But yeah, at the time she didn't write it. When I was in grade 12, it was me and like 3 other girls. But the class average was a 55 just because I got a 92 and the other
did you take
3%
grade 12
failed.
pre-calc in grade 11?
I took grade 12 and grade 11. Because then I could take calculus at,
Yeah.
that's when I took AP calculus at Massey.
Yeah.
Love you, Mr. Bath. He was another really good teacher.
Yeah. Super.
But I think you're right. When we got to the city,
Yeah.
the teachers looked like they cared.
Yeah, I mean,
A
like,
little bit
when
more.
it came to like AP, like most of the teachers had worked in the industry, right?
Yeah.
When they were teachers, and they were generally passionate about teaching. Like, our chem teacher, for
Mr.
instance.
Dyson.
Okay, we're name dropping more now.
No, good
Like,
teachers.
what's up
We gotta
with you?
name drop good teachers,
Okay,
bro.
fine. Dyson was amazing. Like, he was super passionate about chemistry. He loved chemistry. But he also loved education. Like now I'm pretty sure he finished his master's in education. Like you can tell if somebody's passionate about education, they do a master's in ed, and that generally is what makes good teachers good. And they care about not only about teaching, but also seeing students thrive in their classes, and not just about grades. Because when you get into university, you can obviously see a cool, like a really strong juxtaposition compared to like teachers in high school compared to teachers or like professors, like teachers in university don't give a rat's ass about like your grades.
Professors in university don't have an education degree.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. That's
profs.
the biggest difference, right?
Okay, before we even get to that,
This
let's
talk
even
for
farther ahead.
hours.
Yeah, I could talk for hours for how bad professors are,
You
how
want to
bad.
go back to high school or
Like,
what?
no, I don't want to go back to high
No,
school,
like
but
talking about high
no,
school.
yeah, I want to finish talking about high school before
Yeah.
we
Jump into something
jump
else,
into
yeah.
like the university aspect of it, because let's take it a little step back. But do you remember your elementary years?
Elementary years.
Do you remember your elementary years?
Kind of. I mean,
Because
like,
Hamiota, we were in Hamiota.
okay, we're
Basically,
we're
we're
in
in
places now, bro. These
We're
guys
naming-
can stalk us.
Okay, no, we don't live there anymore, so
Okay,
it doesn't matter. We live in
whatever.
LA now, so it doesn't
Alright.
matter. We're in Los Angeles, bro. They can't find us.
Alright.
But,
Why you
okay.
say it like that?
So let's talk about Hamiota. Like, come on, like, do you remember that experience?
Sort of. I mean, that was like a long time ago. It was like almost over 10 years ago.
More than that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember. I mean, like, nothing wrong with it. I mean, again, another smaller town, smaller than the other one that we lived in. Um, it was an okay experience. I mean, we lived in like a little bit remote areas. Our family was like just trying to like
Build a life.
yeah, like start
We were
like
starting
dad,
life in
dad
Canada.
had gotten like a pretty good job. Mom was starting to like think about working like in like in her industry, and because we were a little bit older now than we were when we used to live in Winnipeg. So yeah, so like
Well, grade 3. Like, I was grade 3. You
yeah, I
were
was
grade 2.
2.
Like, your sister was grade 1.
Yeah, so like yeah, I mean, we did our best. We hung out a lot. I was kind of like in my own world in Hamiota.
Yeah, it's because
I
right
kinda,
after
like-
the accident, right?
Yeah, I was like right after the accident.
That
like,
was tough.
yeah.
Your experience was different than everyone
Yeah,
else's.
because well, I was so isolated during those times. I used to just like be on my own and like take apart RC cars and just like build shit and like be in the backyard, dig up random things, go explore. I always liked exploring. So like I mean, we played a lot. Like we played soccer. We like it was 2010. We won the gold medal.
Oh,
in
that
Hamiota,
was
yeah.
wild,
FIFA
man.
World Cup.
That was
that Waka Waka
2010.
stuff for Africa just
Bro,
came out.
2010 was probably
We had
my
a we had a
favorite.
we had a good I loved our soccer coach at the time.
Oh, Mr. Negrave, right? What was his
Was it
name?
Negrave?
Negrave.
Yeah, Mr. Negrave.
He moved to Niverville. I never
Yeah.
saw him again.
Yeah, I don't think so. I forget how he looked.
He used to drive a Rogue. I
No,
remember.
no, he drove a Juke.
Juke, Nissan Juke.
He drove
Bro,
a Juke.
okay, I want a picture
That
of
was
a
the
Nissan.
funniest.
I'm gonna put a picture of a Nissan Juke right here, a maroon one, right here. Imagine you can just see it. It's up here somewhere.
Alright, cool. That's kind of creepy.
So yeah, Mr.
Is it
Negre,
recording?
yes, recording. Mr. Negre was a great guy, man. He low key taught us a lot of lessons.
Yeah, no,
That
I think we learned a lot more from our coaches than we actually did from our teachers in general. I think that's like what a huge misconception was, even with our parents. Like, you know, the whole being from like the whole Asian culture thing and like focusing on academics, and there should have been like a lot more importance on the sports aspect of it. And I know our parents thought like it was more like for fun, you know, kids games,
Mhm.
kids will play and play. But I feel like you know, something that is overlooked by a lot of Asian parents and Asian households is that I don't want to say like this is the majority of it. I mean, just personally from our personal experience was that like we could have definitely put a lot more effort into sports and maybe gotten a sports scholarship into a better
Yeah.
university just so we could pay for education.
Yeah.
Because we were all of us like in our family were generally or genuinely interested in a higher education. And in order to achieve that, we could have definitely balanced out playing one specific sport and becoming
Yeah.
really good at it. We were all very well rounded. Like we all played almost all
Yeah.
the sports, right?
I think it came the aspect of cash, money. And it
I
wasn't just,
mean,
I don't think it was the money aspect of it. It was more of the time commitment. It's tough because there's multiple sides to it. Parents, like our parents especially, would say, "Oh, it's expensive," or "It's too much time commitment." Like, how can I drive you here and there?
I think
When mom didn't have a driver's license,
you know I
but the main aspect of it is because we come from a Muslim background, and it was tough for them to be able to allow us to spend a lot of time to be around non-Muslim people. For them, that aspect, no, it scared them because they were afraid that we were going to lose our culture.
yes and no. But I'm more on the side. I understood where they came from. Their side was more related to like, you know, academics is important right now, especially like when you get to a higher level, it's more important. Um, but again, I don't really see how that could have affected it. They were more of like, what are we going to do when we take you to sports? Because I played hockey, right? Remember when I played
Right? Yeah.
hockey? When I was younger, like they would go to sporting events, take me to like the hockey games and stuff, and they would just sit there and not talk to anyone. Because
It's
no one would talk to them. Because obviously,
it's
I was the only like
think
person of
think
immigrant.
Baba had a beard.
Dude,
Amni had.
I know,
But
fam.
what I'm trying to
Like
say is
I get
that
it.
it's like, okay, one thing about living in a small town is people say, "Oh wow, peace and all this." Sure, we had peace, but
Dude,
the
I don't want to
real
get into that part, but
no, no,
like,
no. But the
yeah,
reality is, it's a hard thing for, especially at the time when we moved, where we were living. It's
yeah,
hard to integrate yourself into a community. We did. We tried. We tried at the beginning. We were going to those things at the like potlucks and stuff with the. Remember, we were going to the English ELA classes, and then we were trying to go there. We were trying to
yeah.
integrate ourselves, but the difference is that when you have your certain beliefs in your culture, and then you're trying to integrate it with
The
like
thing
they
is,
didn't put it. There was no effort from both sides.
but here's also the thing, right? We were the only ones,
Yeah.
right?
If there was
There was no
more,
community there for
there's no
us.
community.
There was nothing like that, and we was like a first time for a lot of people to meet like people from our culture, to meet people from our own religion,
Yeah.
to meet Muslim people.
Or it's Muslim
Um,
people especially because they had met Indian people before. I remember when we first
yeah,
moved to
yeah.
Rivers.
They're like, are you gonna dance for us and shit?
The
Yeah,
first time we moved to Rivers, I remember the principal literally asked, like, we're sitting there meeting. He's like, "Yeah, we had Indian international students before, and they
yeah.
used to dance for us and have all these sweets." And we're like, "Oh, we're Pakistani and we're Muslim, so that's not our culture. That's not what we do. That's like not what we do. It's not our thing." And I could just see the like the principal's face, like go like, "Okay, now I'm confused." And like, but the thing is that I think we left enough of an impact on the students and the teachers in that area, like in that aspect where like every second, like when we entered a new place, "Oh, can you eat meat?" "No, I'm sorry, I only eat halal meat." "Oh, what is halal meat?" We would have to explain what halal meat
I
is.
mean, again, it was like a bit of a education for them as well, and it was something that they like, you know, obviously they weren't exposed to this like from anywhere else, like their parents and stuff like that. And I don't blame them for it. Like I don't blame anyone for it, right?
No.
It's tough. Like us being in a small town with us, it's tough for them. They're trying to understand as best they can. I know they are. Some people genuinely cared, some people genuinely didn't. Some people's parents had put like a mindset in them to think certain ways.
Because
Again, I
of
don't.
because of the
Yeah,
news.
because of social
Yeah.
media, news, and the whole media in general, and the
Because
way that they've, you know,
when we were
made
growing
people
up,
perceive with our skin tones
yeah,
and just with our religion in general, and perceive us in certain ways. I mean, I don't blame them for it. Like, obviously, as they grew up, they're gonna change like a lot of their perspectives and their experiences will influence their decisions based on that. And we were a great introduction to them on our culture because they're gonna run into other people like us,
And they
especially when they
do.
move into cities.
They do.
On a
And
daily
now,
basis,
like,
yeah, they
now,
friends with
like,
them and stuff, right?
exactly, which is wild to me is like one thing I've learned is that since we've gotten older and we've moved out and these people moved out, we still follow them on like social medias. And
Right.
I'll see these people hanging out with other Muslim people,
Right.
right? And it makes me happy because they're friends with these people now.
Right.
They can befriend them in a way because then I can be like, for me to know that, hey, I set a good precedence for them to be able to become friends with these other Muslim people because they don't have a bad impression of Muslim people. But
Yeah.
some people have a bad impression of Muslim people. We'll meet people, they'll be like, oh, are you this certain type of Muslim? Are you this type? But that's because their experience with different people gives them, always leaves a different impression, right?
Yeah, fair. I mean, people have different experiences with different people. And ultimately, I don't think it should come down to race.
No.
I think people are just people in general.
I
I think a lot of people have this notion if they have a bad experience with a certain type of person, they're going to continue that experience. Like, if you have a bad experience with, I don't know, an engineer, let's say, you're going to assume all engineers like that,
Yeah,
type
exactly.
of thing. Or if I had a bad experience with a salesman, I'm never going to deal with a salesman again.
Yeah.
I had a bad experience with somebody from your company, I'm never going to
Yeah.
deal with your company again.
What people need to, what you're trying to say, I think, is that what people need to understand is that everyone is different. Everyone has a different experience with everyone, and you can't assume that everyone is the same in one group
That's
category.
prejudice, right?
It is prejudice. Like the fact that being like, oh, all engineers are stuck up. All engineers think
Yeah, but
they rule the world. Ah, you're a funny guy. Are we stuck up?
I
But
don't know if
says
I'm
the guy who
necessarily.
did a computer science degree. Calm down, buddy.
I'm not stuck up.
No, but I'm just saying, like the
That's
fact.
there, right there. The fact.
See, prejudice. That's what I'm saying.
Fact, bro.
Exactly.
You're being
What's wrong
stuck up.
You're being.
What's wrong with being comp-sci?
Okay, no, but what I'm
What's wrong
what,
with being comp-sci?
what I'm saying is that, well, basically what I'm saying is that,
You're
like,
saying-
assuming that everyone from one certain group of people or one walk of life act the same way. That's wrong. Everyone is individual. Everyone has their own individuality. Everyone acts their
No,
own
that's
way,
fair,
and
but,
everyone
like-
chooses to do what they want. Exactly like us as Muslim people. Every Muslim is a different Muslim. Every person in the Muslim community is their own person. If they choose to follow the religion in what way they choose to follow it, that's on them, not on everyone.
Thing, though. Generally, people tend to. I'm just talking about in generalization. I'm just generalizing people right now, but in general, people tend to think that people, when they have bad experience with a certain type of person, all the traits that they have, they're going to associate that with other people. If they see those traits in another person, like, oh, I had a bad experience with this person. Even when you're in like a different relationship, like even with friends, and you're talking to another friend, and you see a friend being toxic in a certain ways that you had a bad experience with a different friend in the past, you're gonna assume like they're like the same type of toxic, or
Right.
they're gonna bring the same amount of toxicity in your life that you
Right.
don't want,
Right.
and you're gonna want to drop that person.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like the same thing. I mean, it's not fair for people to be prejudiced. It's not fair for people to judge people. I don't want to be judged based on my skin tone. I don't want to be judged based on my culture and my religion, right? I never wanted to. It was like back in like I'm sure you can attest to this, but like back in elementary school, high school, whenever the topic of 9/11 would come, you just see all your gazes right at you.
Yeah.
Like brown people, even Asian people, and it came to Asian people, or even talking about African Americans, all the eyes were on me because I was the only immigrant, right? And they're like Hashim, and it made it worse because the teacher would be like, you can ask Hashim more about it. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh my gosh.
I'm not even Indian. Like, if it came to like something with Indian people, I'm like, bro, I'm not even Indian. I don't know anything about the culture. I grew up in Canada, fam. I know as much about Indian culture, probably a little bit more than you, but like that's because my parents taught me history and stuff like that, so I know this, and I read books. So I'm like, why are you? Even the teacher, like, why are you assuming, and why are you putting this pressure on me to be able to, like.
You know what's the
tell
crazy?
them?
Did I ever
I don't
tell you
get
that one story?
Yeah, you did.
This is the one story I have to share because it sits with me, man.
Okay, you should like not mention names though.
I'm not mentioning names.
Okay, cool.
So we were in a school. I'm not gonna say what school, and a class that a year older than me. We had just come to this brand new school, and they asked the teacher, our social studies teacher, "Hey, this new kid just showed up, Hassan, and we're wondering if he is a terrorist." And the teacher said, "Oh, I don't know." That to me, that fact, a teacher, a person who is supposed to be responsible. This is going back to our topic on how we like pick our teachers, how we choose to put them in the school system. The fact that the teacher can sit there and say, "I don't know," And I'm hearing this from other students from that class telling me, oh, the teacher said they don't know, so we're going to come and just ask you. It's like, come on. Come on. Like, the teacher should straight up be like, this is like intolerable. Like, should not be tolerated
This
in a
is the thing though, right?
situation.
In that school, nothing was intolerable. Everything was tolerable, which is so weird.
Not just that school, high school, just in general.
No, I mean, like,
Remember?
the city school was different though.
Come on. Come on.
Really?
The city school? Remember the Pacific teachers that could say whatever they wanted and get away with it? And then
In the city?
in the city.
What teachers are talking about? You can blur their names out.
I'm not gonna blur their name. I just want to say that. I'll tell you after the camera. But the fact that a lot of teachers in high school can say, especially
You're
in
talking
the
about certain hall monitors?
certain people, but like I'm saying in certain like especially
Oh, I
outside of the
guess.
big city, realistically a lot of the people don't care because it's hard to get teachers.
Yeah,
You can't fire a
that
teacher.
The specific teacher you talked about that in that incident, didn't he end up like getting demoted and then he got fired
No, he
and
didn't.
then
No,
he
he
went
didn't.
to elementary
No,
school.
he didn't.
He went to
Oh, the
elementary
one
school.
I'm talking about from my story.
Yeah.
He got demoted.
Not that other one. He's weird anyway.
No,
I know who
but
you're talking about now.
the teacher that I'm talking about in that story, yeah, he had really bad luck with like gambling and stuff. He had he had his whole situation. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it, but he had a whole situation and things just didn't. Maybe that's just karma. Maybe Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is just looking out for us in one way. But realistically, is all I'm saying is that if we're picking teachers, we want teachers that stand up for every student because every student is not the same. Like as we talk about individuality. Like we're talking about individuality. Every person in a certain group is different. Like that's the same thing with students. Every student is different. And the fact that teachers are there to protect the students, but in these small schools and these schools on like in smaller cities and it's even in the big city, these teachers aren't protecting students. They're putting other students under the fire just because they either A, they don't want to be held accountable for anything, or the fact that they just are too lazy to help.
But the problem also lies that again, going to small schools, the teachers are so used to like, to an extent, like half the class is going to be disappointment in general. Right? Like out of like your class did pretty well. Like your graduating class, a lot of them went to like post-secondary schooling and stuff, right? Out of my class, like some kids just, I don't even know where they're at. Some are doing very well for themselves. Actually, a lot of them are doing very well for themselves. But a lot of them choose not to go to post-secondary schooling and choose alternative routes. Some of them being athletics and, I mean, professional athletics to an extent as well. A lot of them go to play semi-pro and stuff like that, which again, good for them. But like, I don't blame the teachers, but I also feel like, yes, they can be more educated as well. And again, those teachers were a lot older, and it is getting a lot better with the younger teachers coming in, especially with the new education that they're teaching. Specifically, I'm not in education, so you might need to get somebody in ed on your podcast, especially an ed student, and then maybe like a student teacher, and then a teacher, and then maybe get a teacher that's a little bit older to get different perspectives on that. Because specifically, I mean, we can bash about teachers and talk about like how they're not doing.
But we're
a
not
good
in the
job.
education system,
Exactly.
so we don't know.
We don't know exactly what we're talking about. And a lot of the education system's also controlled by provincial government, and some of it I believe is controlled by federal as well. But the curriculums again are built by the provincial government. So maybe you can talk to like a provincial representative for the education as well to get a better perspective on this if this is something that you're actually passionate about and seeing a change being built into the education system. But yeah, I mean, like I've had some very outlandish things said by teachers as well. It's tough. It was tough growing up, especially in small towns. Like a lot of things that happen to us, you don't really realize it until you get older. But all like the racist stuff that happened and all like the other stuff that happened. But like we were kids, like we didn't know any better. We thought we were just like chilling, we were just playing in the playgrounds. All these slurs that we were being called were just normal and all this stuff. It's getting picked on by teachers, getting picked on by kids. You think it's normal. You think it's normal kid to kid stuff. You weren't, allowed to do this. I'm like, whoa, okay. I mean, maybe it's just because, I'm a kid. I straight up got called, this is my foreign friend. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what else do you want me to say? Like, I felt like, I didn't belong in most of the small towns.
You know what's crazy?
Even if we did stand up and we did something about it, nothing was gonna happen.
Nothing would change.
Yeah, nothing was gonna happen.
It was gonna be the same.
We went to a school and
remember when
the teacher would be like, would have been like, did that hurt? Did I hurt you?
Yeah.
That make you feel sad? I'm like, yeah. Okay, and I mean, do you feel okay now? I'm like, I guess. Like, okay, I mean, what else do you want me to do about it? Do you want me
Yeah.
to like go up to him and tell him that he did a bad thing? I'm
Yeah.
like, what? Like this straight up happened to me one time, and I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, do you want me to go up to him and tell him he did a bad thing? I'm like, why are you saying it like that? You're being so weird. Like, no, I just want you to do something. Like, I just a kid. I want you to do something. I don't wanna be attacked like this. Like, do something. Remember the trend that people would like straight up go and toss dodgeballs, say Allahu Akbar
Oh, I don't
randomly?
remember that.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember that. Did you have that?
Oh, all the time.
Oh, wow.
In like,
Oh, and yeah.
yeah,
Back, back
yeah,
in
back
elementary
in,
school,
yeah,
back in high
no,
school,
high
like
school, yeah.
early high school, like when we were in grade 9.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I
grade 9,
remember
10,
that.
like people do that. That shit like offended me all the
Yeah.
time.
When we were playing Mission Impossible or
Or
like
anything, like
anything with
even
a
randomly they
dodgeball.
would
Yeah.
do that. They'd toss a backpack and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
no matter how many times you'd say stop, and the teachers would like laugh every single time they hear that.
Teachers would laugh too.
They wouldn't do anything about it. Like, what do you
Do
want
you,
us to
you're
do?
like, come on, this kid needs to have common sense to.
Yeah, but also the guy didn't get any discipline either. Like the
Wow, I
kid,
didn't know that.
yeah, nothing happened to him. Um,
Oh, it's just kids playing around, kids being kids.
yeah, like it doesn't matter. Like I don't
Do you
think
know what kind of things kids do these days in like
yeah, I know.
the
Wow,
U.S.?
I know,
It's
dude.
wild.
Like I don't know. Kids are changing, but again, all the experiences that I don't blame anyone for the experience for what they did. I mean, everyone's learning and experiences change, and I'm sure a lot of people have gotten a lot better too. Especially kids that I've noticed that were really terrible in elementary school and high school have gotten a lot better because they've grown up, right? And they've
Yeah.
changed their experiences. They moved out to the city. They learned that people are different.
Yeah.
Not everyone is like them. Not everyone's the
Yeah.
same skin tone. Not everyone is going to behave the way that they think they're going to behave. People are going to have different mindsets. People are going to have different beliefs and different religions, and that's just life, and that's just the way life is.
But my question is, would you change any of those experiences that you had?
I mean, I don't know, to be honest. I like who I am as a person, and I don't regret anything that I did.
Yeah.
Um,
For anything that happened?
or anything that happened, to be honest. I think those experiences I had gave me a huge reality check, to be
Yeah.
honest. They put me in my place, I guess. Maybe I would have been turned out a lot different than I actually am. I'm still, I would say, well in tap on my culture compared to a lot of other people that would be in my shoes. Like, we've been in Canada for like over 16 years, and we grew up here. I've been here for way more than majority of my life. And I wasn't born here though, but um it's tough, right? Like we're in a cultural disconnect.
Yeah.
Like we don't fit in with like back home in Pakistan, but like we also don't fit in Canada because we're clearly, when people look at us, they wouldn't consider us Canadian,
Or yeah.
right? We are Canadian citizens though, but are people gonna look at us and be like, oh, these are Canadian, these are true Canadian citizens? No, they're not.
We're stuck in that middle.
Yeah, we're like
We have
there are
become
people in there.
Yeah,
There's
there's so many people in
Oh,
there.
I was say so many. There's
People that
people.
we meet now in university
Yeah.
are most of the people that we meet in university are people like us.
Yeah,
They're
they fall in
stuck,
the
they fall in the
intersection,
middle.
right?
Most of my friends that have become one of my closest friends are people that fell in that disconnect, like that middle part. We're left in this little void. It's as if it's as if our parents brought us here and said, we're here to help, but don't know how to help you. Good luck. We're giving you the world of opportunities. But the reality is that they don't know what this world of opportunity is. For them, it's the idea of living in no fear, making a little bit extra. It's nice. You get a really good education,
Yeah,
right? And then you can help, you can get a good job and this. But the reality is that they don't understand the struggles that we're going to go through. They didn't understand because we didn't understand the struggles they're going to go through. Because our parents went through so much struggle just to be able to give us the life we have. But now the struggle that we have to go through is different than the struggle they had to go through. They went through that struggle, then now we have to go through a different struggle. But we're in the same struggle as a lot of people that are stuck in this middle void. We're stuck in this void together. And the reality is sometimes we don't realize it and we try to compete against people in that void. Most times our own people compete against each other. We're competing against people that we should be helping each other. But it's tough because because a lot of the people in that void are trying to connect to one or the other. They're either trying to connect to their roots or they're trying to connect to this country that we're in now.
Yeah,
And it's tough because we don't really all connect together. But a lot of my friends now are people that are stuck in that void, and I would call them one of my closest friends, and they understand the experiences that we've gone through, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was basically our high school run around, and
That's crazy.
our
We talked about
we
a
didn't.
lot. We should probably wrap this
This
up, to
is
be
it's being
honest.
wrapped up right away. We're pretty much coming to the end here. So thanks a lot, Hashim, for coming on the first episode of D Brown Special.
Thank
I
you for
will,
letting me crash at your place.
yeah, anytime, bro.